Hello. How is everyone? Welcome to the stream. So first things first is I didn't get wine today because I went to the shop and I forgot, and then it was a fucking horrible day, horribly rainy. So I decided to not get wine. So instead we're gonna start off. We've got a beer, which is nice. And then we're gonna move on and maybe have a gin and tonic later on. So just gonna crack open a cold one with the lads. That's you guys. You're the lads. And then and get going. So we've got no wine sommelier today, unfortunately. But we've got, beer's fine, and then a lovely gin and tonic later maybe. Yeah, how is everyone? Can everyone hear me? Is everything working alright? What's the beer? The beer is Beaverton Neck Oil. It's an IPA. Nothing as fun as doing wine sommeliers, unfortunate. You made the most student meal of your life. That sounds not good. Yeah, so it's been about a month since the last stream, because last time we were on, last time it was supposed to be streaming was my graduation, and so we've not done a stream in about a month. So, but here we are back again, and yeah, ready to chat shit about something. There's a lot going on. I did just watch the first episode of the Netflix Avatar show. We can get into that in a bit, but yeah, not good. They should stop trying to do that in live action. At least that first episode was not good. Fusilli pasta with random leftover vegetables boiled in some water and some hummus on top. Yeah, that sounds like a student meal. So yeah, someone asked me in the chat there just before we started properly, if I had to do a speech. I didn't have to do a speech, which was very lucky, because it would have gone badly. But the person who did do the speech for both the PhD and the Masters cohorts there, the person who was doing the Masters cohort gave a very good speech. She was a friend of mine, and she did a great speech, and so did the PhD guy. Luckily I didn't have to do that, thank God. It was a weird event, the graduation though. I did wake up that day with like a hellish migraine, like the sort of migraine that half your body goes numb for. So I was not in sort of the right headspace. But so I turned up to the graduation. I was wearing my kilt. I had to oh, hello Joe, how's it going? I had to go through central London wearing my full kilt regalia and getting like shouted at by a couple of folk on the tube while I was on my way to the graduation. Turned up, got the full fucking I looked like the robes and the hat. I looked like Da Vinci. I looked like a fucking 15th century painter. Why would it have gone bad if I'd done a speech? If I'd done a speech, it wouldn't have been in the spirit of people graduating. It would have been me talking about how shit the industry is and how the vice chancellors have fucked over everyone, which isn't what people want to hear on a graduation. But there's no way I could have done it without doing that. But yeah, I turned up, got fucking decked out in the robes, and then as I was walking up to get my picture taken, I walked past this guy and I was like, "Is that Chiwetel Ejiofor?" And I was like, don't know if that's surely if Chiwetel Ejiofor was here, they would have mentioned that in any of the correspondence, which they might have done actually, because I received not a single bit of information from the university about what was going on in the graduation. The only reason I knew to turn up, when to turn up, was because a friend of mine who was graduating on the same day was getting emails and was forwarding them on to me. The wonderful world of stripped to the bone administrative of university. So I didn't hear anything, but I was like, oh, is that Chiwetel Ejiofor? And I was like, I don't want to wander up to him and be like, are you Chiwetel Ejiofor? Because if it's not, that's like, wouldn't want that to happen. I like got my photos and everything, and went out to meet my parents, and then as I was waiting for them outside the British Museum, and I got stopped by a bunch of Chinese tourists who wanted to take my picture because of how ridiculous I looked. So I had to stand there and be like, thumbs up with these tourists, with how strange I looked in my full-on regalia. They were very happy. And then my parents arrived and they just laughed and laughed and laughed at how I looked. And then the graduation happened. It was Chiwetel Ejiofor who was the speaker there, which is, that's nice. But the event was it was strange. So the opening speech by the Vice Chancellor of the university was this rambling, strange speech about the effects and the impacts of AI in academia and how it's something that we really have to worry about. And I was just sitting there like, what are you talking about? And like, people looking at my face were saying like, yeah, well, you could tell John was like thinking this was a load of horseshit, because I apparently can't hide how I feel in my face. I can't be stony faced apparently. And I was just like, the whole way through, because the Vice Chancellor was just talking about like, she was like, the biggest threat to the university as an industry right now is artificial intelligence, and as ever the students are more ahead of this than we are, and they're already using it for essays, and we need to be ready to, it could be a very useful tool, but also it can be dangerous, and students will cheat with it. And I was just sitting there going like, this year, several departments, this year a whole university offered every one of its members of staff voluntary redundancy. SOAS across the road just fired an entire department. Birkbeck across the road just fired their entire English and history departments. Roehampton, who have offices in this building, fired like half of their staff. Liverpool's history department's gone. All these things, like these issues that are being foisted onto the industry, students having to work for constantly, like, to pay the rent that people like you, Vice Chancellor, are responsible for, increasing student rents, and it was just really weird. I was just like, you at this university, at this very university, half of the admin staff were fired, and you're talking about, half the admin staff are fired, and now the administrative process at this university barely functions, and all of it is on the shoulders of this one poor member of staff, who I learned was as an agency staff, whose rights aren't being who's got few workers' rights. And you want to talk about AI being the threat. I can see why the Vice Chancellor would think that the AI was an opportunity, because it would mean that she could find ways to cut corners and staffing costs. which is the threat. That'd be the threat to us, but certainly not. Like, this really winds me up. The AI shit, the way that academics talk about AI and like vice chancellors, because they're like, you get all these academics like get big bee in their bonnet about AI. And, oh, students will use it to cheat, and you're just like, you've taken such a surface level fucking thing, which is that students might be incentivized to cheat, and refuse to interrogate deeper questions like, what kind of education system have we created that the ability to like pass exams and pass papers is just seen as a hurdle to get through it so that you can get a job? What sort of pressures are on students that they can't go to lectures because they've got to work to pay the rent, and so they don't have time to do essays, and so might cut corners in using AI? Cheating, plagiarism, whatever, feature of student work for decades, and it only gets worse, not because AI exists, but because students are in a shit position, and because education is not understood to be a good in itself, but only as a fucking marketable qualification, a tool to get a job. And so, like, why wouldn't you, if you were stressed and, you know, just needed to get through it, why wouldn't you use AI like to submit an essay? And I don't think I would like, I wouldn't blame a student for that. And it's just like, it's not like you can't tell either, like, and that you, like, people are like, oh yeah, no, maybe at some point we wouldn't be able to tell whether a student wrote a good essay. And you're like, no, that's because a fundamental thing about AI in the writing of essays is it's just an accumulation of information that's been gathered in different places, and it doesn't give a real critical, like, it can't give critical thought to an issue. And good student essays critically evaluate things, and that you can just tell. So like, the best that they can do is like maybe get a C passing grade on something, and it's like, students who are willing to get a C passing grade of something have worse pressures on them than fucking AI. It just really, it really wound me up, that shit. It always winds me up. It's just bollocks. And obviously I was talking to a supervisor afterwards, and he was like, yeah, that was a load of bollocks, wasn't it? And then fucking she gave her speech, and we went through the whole thing. Stood up, had to crouch on a pillow while I shook the Vice Chancellor's hand to get the degree or something. And then at the end, I didn't realise this was going to happen until earlier in the day. At the end, they were like, everyone now rise. You know, they'd done all these speeches about how the university is a internationalist university, how it's so, you know, it's so important to the university community. This is an internationalist institution that's concerned with, you know, not just research for research's sake, but research for overturning and fighting for a better world. And then they essentially went, but anyway, everyone now stand up for the national anthem. I was just like, what? The national anthem? Why? And I didn't stand up for the national anthem. Which I think I was the only student not to. But it was just like, it's such a strange thing to do. I've been to, that's my third graduation now. Never have I come across having to stand for the national anthem during a graduation. It was bizarre, an utterly weird experience, especially after all that internationalist stuff. It's like, you know what really says internationalist? The British national anthem. Just maybe not in the way that the way that you were thinking of internationalism. And then we went out and we had some food. And my supervisor came up to me afterwards and was like, I'm very proud. My two of my students who were graduating today. One of them was a person who was doing the speech, and she spoke about ongoing genocide, and obviously as a human rights, she was in a human rights course. She was wanting to talk about that. And then the other one, me, not standing for the national anthem, which is like, he was just like, I'm very proud of my students, which is nice, you know. It's always good to get a bit of Damien support. Yeah, the national anthem, utterly weird. I didn't expect that, and I don't understand why. And it was such like a weedy like rendition as well. It was like this recording of just like a really weedy recording that sort of went on for a minute, and then there were a couple of musicians in the room just started playing a different song, and I was like, it was really weird. That was really weird. Yeah, I mean, a bunch of free wine afterwards. That was nice. Went for a meal. Unfortunately, by the time we went for a meal, my migraine had re-kicked in, and I couldn't enjoy it much. But you know, we my parents were in town, so we did stuff like that. It was very strange. It was a very strange thing. Yeah. So that's how that went. Didn't have to give a speech though. I would have been uncomfortable if I had to give a speech and then the national anthem had played. How was the wine? Terrible. It's that what's it they call it? It's Alta Bajo. That's the wine that the university gets. It's really bad. It's not a good wine. We've stolen many a bottle of Alto Bajo, and it'll be a shame to no longer have a source of terrible free wine. I a few weeks ago, my flatmate, who always buys very nice wine, accidentally opened a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, accidentally opened an Alto Bajo red wine, and was just like, nope, not gonna happen. It's just not drinkable. It's like the wine you'd get in like a pub when you ask for their house red. It's like that kind of thing where you can smell it from about 3 feet away. You're like, yeah, that's definitely wine. What we've got here. But yeah, that's what I missed last stream for. And we can talk a bit about some fun stuff that we did. I'm going to complain about the musical Wicked in a bit, because we saw that and it was terrible. But you know, let's get some more music on the go first. Let's make a new tune and then we can talk about something else. Doesn't that mean high low in Spanish? I don't know. Alto Bajo. Let's take a look. It's all lows, unfortunately, with Alto Bajo. High low. Yep. Yeah, okay. Let's get some music on and then I can complain about Wicked. Soft and juicy with red berries and a hint of spice with a smooth finish. I mean, a hint of spice maybe, in the sort of vinegary. If you count vinegar as spice, then maybe. We like to jump between some genres. That was quite fun. Quite a fun wee thing. Oh, here's another thing. There should be. This tune feels like the montage of an art thief driving across a heartland tundra on a muscular, outpacing cops and the bourgeois to meet his dealer at the border. I get that, but unfortunately, if that's the case, then the art thief is going to die. That's definitely the tune of like a that sounds like, yeah, it sounds like a sort of montage of someone on an ill-fated kind of run from the law. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately. I don't know what that means. In the fantasy we've just created, the hero dies. You don't have to apologise for turning up late. Like, there's no late, there's no early. This is just check in and check out when you want. Alright, because I need to get this off my chest, and because people like it when I get angry about things. Why, okay, is the musical Wicked so famous? Because I saw it, and it was trash. It was really trash, and you know, you arrive at the stream whenever you want, you know, precisely when you mean to. We're all wizards here. We went to see, so my parents went out, and they wanted to go see a show. So we went to see Wicked, and I had no notion. I've never seen it before. I knew of it, and I had heard the song Defying Gravity. So I was like, okay, so this is going to be like a big bowl, like a big brash show. I wasn't expecting all that much, and it started, and I was just like, good lord, this is terrible. And I mean, like, I don't mean like, it was just, everything about it was just, I turned to my dad in the intervention. He was just like, this is embarrassing. The whole thing felt like, to me, and so when you were in school, did anyone ever know this type of person who they thought they were unpopular because they were like ugly and uncool, and you sort of spoke to them, and you realised that they're one of the most nasty people that you've ever met. They're like so superior. They think everyone around them is an idiot. That they're all just shallow idiots, and that person is the only person. And this is something that goes beyond like whether or not like boys and girls. I knew both types of these people. They were all like, oh yeah, no. Actually, all these people around me are horrible, vacuous people who, and that's why they don't like me, because they know that I'm actually the smartest. I'm so much better than them, and I know that their lives are going to be horrible, and my life is going to be great. Because I'm actually really special, and just like school is rubbish. And you were just like, okay, so maybe the reason you're not popular isn't because you're not like cool or trendy. Maybe it's because you're an asshole. Like, have you maybe considered that? And this musical felt like it was written by someone who thought that who was that person, who thought that they were unpopular in school because they were not trendy, when really it was because they were an asshole. Because the whole thing is centered around, here's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like, you know, we can understand the justifications for this, for both sides of, like, you know, the goodie and the baddie in this traditional show. riffing off things in The Wizard of Oz that are outdated and like, I don't know, maybe like and make sense to like look at from a villain's perspective or something. And I thought, like, you'd be able to still understand the perspective of the villain without necessarily like agree with it, as like understanding how a person becomes who they are. Liz Poltergeist, it is wicked. And then the whole thing is just like this character. Instead of that, it's like this character is actually the best at everything. They have no flaws, except that they don't believe in themselves, which is not true, because they kind of do believe in themselves in many ways, but whatever. They don't seem to have any flaws. They are, the goodest person, the most talented person. Everyone around them is just a fool who doesn't understand the world, or evil, and you're just like, at no point throughout this story does the character learn anything. Does the character like face any difficult thing about themselves? It's all the whole thing is like, oh, you thought that you were actually really talented and special and good. You were right. You thought everyone else around you was vacuous and probably evil. Yep. Yeah, that's right. Everyone around you is vacuous and probably evil. That's not even getting into the weird and ill thought out racial allegory that is going on there, where the racially discriminated group of people are animals. Where you're like, okay, you can see why that's not a good allegory, racial. Like, think about that for like a second, please. Like, if everyone's kind of human and then you're being racist to animals, you can. This show's been going on for 20 years and nobody's thought like, maybe not that. It was honestly baffling. It's mean-spirited is the thing that I think, and like, so this idea of the sort of the central character is the only like real special person, and like she ends up getting the boy, because the boy prefers her to the popular girl, which is like, okay, but whatever. That seems to be. It just, the whole thing just seems really mean-spirited. Like, they don't like the person who's. I didn't like the Good Witch isn't even magical because she's not as talented as the main character. I just think, like, wouldn't it be a more interesting story that kids could still grasp if they were both talented people and like maybe their flaws weren't, like, they're not talented? Like, why make this bizarre decision that the Good Witch is just like the Wizard of Oz, a fraud? It doesn't make sense in relation to the Wizard of Oz as a story either. It's bizarre, and like, it's mean-spirited in how it treats the material of the Wizard of Oz as well. Like to sort of, oh god, we've not even talked about the disability politics of it. Like, Dorothy turning up to the Land of Oz is a scheme by the Wizard of Oz and the head principal of the high school that the witches go to, or the one witch and the one fake witch, to kill the main character's sister, and so she gets caught. And that's sort of like, and then the Tin Man is a horrible kind of incel who was turned into a Tin Man by the Wicked Witch, because she was trying to save him. The lion is, I don't know what was going on with the lion, like it was like a cub that she saved. I don't know why the lion apparently hated her too for some reason. and the scarecrow is her boyfriend, who she turned into a scarecrow, who she elopes with at the end. And you're just like, this is mean spirited in relation to like the material it's supposedly reacting to. It like it undermines anything. It doesn't play off it in any kind of clever way. It just undermines it as a story. And like, so this whole story about like a Tin Man finding a heart and a lion finding courage and all this stuff is stuff that's within you out there. It's like, you know, that's fine. That's a fine children's story. But after all, but after this, it's like, yeah, Tin Man, you're a fucking incel. Yeah. It's so weird. It's so weird. Yeah, and the bit with like, so the bit with like the disability politics is something else. So in the show, the Wicked Witch has a sister who's disabled, like who can't walk, and the justification is that she ate too many. Her mother ate too many flowers when she was pregnant because they were scared in case their other daughter, both of them turned out green. Oh yeah, the wizard is the Wicked Witch's dad for some reason. It's nonsense. So she can't walk, and so the Wicked Witch looks after her whole life. And this woman, this woman who can't walk is just so deeply. She resents her so much that when the Wicked Witch makes her walk again by blessing her sparkly, bedazzled shoes, the shoes that Dorothy then finds, that she can walk, she then like shits on everyone around her and shits on the Wicked Witch, and it's like, and you're just like, what are you trying to actually say here? What in your head? What are you trying to say about this character? That she was just always a bastard and then as a sort of punishment, the wizard and the head of the school crushes her with Dorothy's house. And just like, it's utterly just terrible. It's just like, it's so mean-spirited, and that like fucking ableist, and it's just, what a bizarre thing to be so popular. And you know, like, I would almost like get it if the songs were great, but I only sort of remember the one song. I don't remember any of the other songs. They're not stuck with me. So it's just like, what is this? How did this happen? What is the actual, like, what are people actually, what is, like, it's sort of played as a morality tale, but I'm not sure what the actual morality of it is supposed to be. Like, I don't know what the lesson of it is supposed to be. Like, you could say in a very general sense, maybe don't be racist, but that's not dealt with in any sort of like cohesive way. I don't even know if it's bourgeois morally. It's just that would require it to have clear moral, and I don't know if it does. Except, you know, everyone around you, if you're unpopular, everyone around you is terrible, and you're actually great. You have no, like, I don't like this phrase because it's such like a bat incel coded phrase, and it's such like a misogynist coded phrase. But like, this is the main character of Wicked, the Wicked Witch, is the only character I've ever seen in fiction that could accurately be described as like a Mary Sue. And I mean that not because they're powerful, but because they have no discernible flaws as a character, and they meet no challenges internally to overcome any of those flaws themselves. Every challenge is external, except maybe that she doesn't believe in herself enough. But that's still tenuous because it's, you know, it's within the first like 10 minutes before when everyone starts calling her super special. So it's just bizarre. I honestly couldn't believe it. Yeah, the animal racism was just sort of dressing like she's on the right side as a character trait. It absolutely is just dressing, because so the way that the reason that it happens in the story is because the wizard, who's from Jim Crow era, Jim Crow era US, South US. You know, in The Wizard of Oz, he's like a con man who's you know, a bit sleazy, a bit schemy, but he's ultimately not evil. He's just like a con man. But in the story, the wizard creates this system of racism by saying sometimes, to bring people together, you need an enemy to fight against. And you're like, just sitting there like, what? Is this how you think racism happens? In this show is racism plot by a singular figure to do what? We get no indication that actually the world is in that much strife before the racism. So it's strange. And then that whole thing is just resolved by like a sentence. I think it might not be resolved because I don't remember everything, but I think basically it ends with a sentence of where the good witch learns to be good by looking at the wicked witch, and so whatever, and she's like, actually it was maybe wrong to be racist to all the animals. As a wee flavour, which is really great, when the animals are being are victims of racism, they become more animal and can't speak, which is something. Yeah. And and I think it's just solved because they go, actually, maybe that was wrong. It's like, what? It was really bad. And I didn't realize that they were making a movie out of it. And then, they're making 2 movies out of it. Which, great stuff. Why does it scream Chibnall era Doctor Who? I can see that. When is your Chicken Run 2 video dropping? Inquiring minds are jonesing for a hit. I'm hoping for Saturday. If not Saturday, then Sunday. And So I've been working on it. So patrons can see the introduction to it now, which is quite fun. Took a long time to edit. Turns out editing shots and reverse shots is difficult, and editing actions is difficult. So patrons can see the introduction to it now. But I was working on it today. My computer was being really slow, so I didn't get very far. But hopefully it'll be out on Saturday. I'm hoping I can get it done for patrons tomorrow night. And if I can't, then it'll be patrons on Saturday and everyone else on Sunday or Monday. Trying to dissect that plot point in my mind and getting racism makes itself true. It's a very very bizarre thing to write, isn't it? It's like I think that what has happened is someone has thought, oh, we're dehumanizing them. Isn't that so smart? You know, we're dehumanizing these animals. That's what racism does. And then they haven't thought about it any further than that, or thought about it in the context of what that means within the construction of a piece of, and I use this term loosely, art. I don't think they realised what they were saying, or had any clarity on what they were trying to say. It was one of the more bizarre experiences of my life, and especially just knowing how many people absolutely love it, and just being like, you know, like, there are musicals I like, Chicago, I like, you know, Cabaret, every Muppet movie. I like some musicals, and it would be a shame to lose them. But if this is the second most popular musical that's ever been made, and that the art form has allowed this to happen, maybe it's just time that we get rid of it. Like, maybe it's just time. maybe it's just time that we get rid of musicals as a thing, because that was unacceptable to me. Anyway, I won't go on any further because I will get too grumpy. I really liked Chicago. I've not seen the stage show, but I liked the movie. I thought I preferred the movie of Cabaret, but Chicago was good. Yes, and how's it going? We were just talking about how much I absolutely hated Wicked, and how bizarre it was. Yeah, Chicago. The Chicago movie, I think there was a few times where it definitely could have been cut down. I think that some of the tracks where some of the numbers just didn't work too well in the film setting, and kind of dragged a bit. But then you've got the amazing scene of the tap dancing in the courtroom, and you're like, that's really good. I enjoyed Chicago. You don't know what that is. That's okay. You don't need to know, and you should never find out, because it might actually make your head explode into a big pile of viscera by how bizarre it is. At least everyone collectively hated Cinderella. Yeah, I mean, I do like to see fucking welfare, anti-welfare guy, what's his name? Cats man. What's he called? The one who wrote Cats, whatever he's called. The horrible bastard. I'm glad that his Cinderella failed. The Matilda musical, I didn't really gel with all that much. I thought it was strange, a strange thing. There's bits of it I liked. I liked some of the songs and stuff, but like the whole Andrew Lloyd Webber, that's it. Fucking evil bastard that he is. And I like none of his works. I think they're all terrible, and I think he should be ashamed of himself and everything he does. But yeah, the Matilda musical was strange. I had all that, like, it had all the stuff about like the acrobats and like weird things with Miss Honey that were just strange and slow, and I don't think helped anything in the story. And then the musical also had like this tendency to undersell how much like obviously the main sort of touchstone for the musical, both the stage show and the movie, is the 90s Danny DeVito movie, and a big part of that is that Matilda isn't the only one who is fighting Miss Trunchbull, and like the whole school kicks her out and everything. But in the musical, you get an impression that it's mostly just Matilda's actions that do anything. Even when the song "Revolting Children" comes on, you're just like, yeah, but they didn't do much, did they? So I don't know. I'm iffy on the Matilda musical. Yeah, Andrew Lloyd Webber, horrible bastard, horrible bastard. I will never enjoy anything he's produced. I did see Cats the movie in the cinema after a few pints with my brother and his partner, or maybe my sister as well. I can't remember. But we kept getting shot horrible looks by like the sort of older theatre fans in front of us, because I kept going, oh fucking hell, every time something unnerving happened on screen, which was quite a lot. Anytime the cats like did a weird tail erection, I just was like, oh fucking hell, you know, when Dame Judi Dench itches her fanny, I was like, on screen, I was like, fucking hell. I just kept getting shot these horrible filthy looks by the Cats fans in front of us. I would have watched that twice in the cinema though, because it was just, what a disaster. That was one of those things that was such a beautiful disaster, and like, how did it happen? I mean, the reason it happened is because Tom Hooper managed to trick the world into thinking he's good at making films. That's what happens when you make one boring fucking period drama about the king having a stutter. Well, what a boring story. The king doesn't have good self-esteem because he stutters a bit. It's like, well, fuck that guy. He's a evil bastard. I don't give a shit about him learning how to like give a good radio speech. I don't. How did that manage to collectively trick movie producers around the world that Tom Hooper should be given money to make movies, and nobody learned their lesson after the Les Miserables? Fucking disaster. Sorry, I got grumpy again. Let's do another tune to cheer us up. We'll do another tune, and then oh my god, I forgot about Idris Elba and that. Yeah, that was one of the moments I said fucking hell, because it's when he strips off, and you're like, and his fur is the same colour as his skin, and it just feels like he's a wee naked Ken doll, furry naked Ken doll, and you're just like, fucking hell, this is what the fuck happened so many people did so much work to produce this absolute monstrosity. It was that was a real fucking that. I think that was one of the moments I got shot a filthy look. Yeah. Let's get another tune on the go, and then I might switch over to a gin and tonic, while the tune is playing. I have to think about things to talk about afterwards. Everyone, oh yeah, they've got the Avatar: The Last Airbender show. We're still on the grump train. Don't worry. Apparently, I've still got things to be annoyed about. All right. I will leave you with that tune while I go make myself a wee gin and tonic. It's just, I love making a wee disco tune. It's so much fun. I never watched the Wednesday show, but Principal Weems is a fashion icon and lover of vintage fashion and good wigs. Love hers, and you've got similar wigs. The Wednesday show is terrible, unfortunately. The aesthetic of the impeccable aesthetic of what's her face, the woman who plays that character is unfortunate. Unfortunately situated within a terrible show. Dr. Disco. That's my radio name. Here on the Drive Time Hour with Dr. Disco. Anyway, more drink. You think I'm bad at watching TV shows? I'm gonna let you justify yourself to that. Do you mean that I pick bad TV shows to watch, or do you mean that I don't watch terrible TV shows in the right way? Just wait for Sinan to expand on his point. Because I can't talk about. I know. I can't talk about. I have been in. I pick bad ones. I have been watching the Mr. and Mrs. Smith show, and I've been enjoying that. That's cute. That's really cute and it's fun. And Donald Glover looks really hot in it. But the thing is, most of the time when you're watching a show that's not like Andor, or like something like that's so good, when you're watching a show you're like, oh yeah, this is really good, and you're just like, yeah, it's fine. Not much content you can make out of that on stream. I can't get sort of slightly drunk and belligerent about it. come bearing cat as well. Here he is. How come you can talk for half an hour at a time about HBO's Rome? I mean, I can do the same thing, like I said, unless it's something like Andor. I can do that for Andor as well, or Chicken Run, or something like that. Just not like, just like, it has to be a show that I really like before I can talk unprompted about it for a while. Hello, how are you doing? You've been quiet. He was just standing at the door waiting for me, and so there's no way I can let him in. I like doing this with his little paws. Is there any other shows? What good shows? Well, yeah, we were going to talk about the bad show. I guess I'd probably have to wait for more episodes to give a full judgment of it, but yeah. You can make him do the ketchup dance. Alright. You're getting upset now, are you? You're gonna go out if you start getting upset. Yeah, he's gonna go out. Yes. Stop being cute. He's sticking his tongue out at me. Alright. Say bye to your fans. Bye bye. Right. He is a very cute cat. You do have to hand it to him. Where's the gin? It's amazing how much nicer the beer and gin is compared to the normal wine I drink on these streams. Very good. You have to paw it to him, yes. Have I seen Winter on Fire? I have not even heard of Winter on Fire, so no, I've not seen that. I'm not sure what it is. If you tell me it's good, I will Google it and maybe watch it. I'm looking forward to June 2 coming out. Excuse me. This is actually Japanese gin that my flatmate bought. It's very nice. This kind of... See, a lot of the... I'm sure this won't surprise you. A lot of the booze that I buy, because I can't buy nice things, is terrible. Like Sainsbury's own brand gin drink and stuff like that. And it, it's bearable. It's still a gin and tonic. It's fine. But then you know, like this Japanese gin is just like, yeah, this is really nice. This is really nice. A documentary about Ukraine's revolution of dignity. Oh, that does sound interesting. And for like documentaries are the sort of thing like where if I'm on having downtime, because I spend so much of my time doing like reading and stuff and spending a lot of time researching and shit. When I've got downtime, I don't tend to watch documentaries because I kind of feel like it's almost like work. And it's a similar thing to even like reading fiction. I need to get back into reading fiction, because you know, it's nice reading. Every time I read fiction again, I'm like, reading is nice and it's fun to do, and it's easy. But I spend so much of my time reading that it doesn't feel like just taking time to do reading just feels like work. But I do need to get back into doing actual reading and shit. That's not plodding my way through Black Reconstruction, which I am nearly finished. I have like 70 pages left of Black Reconstruction out of 700. It's been a slog. It's been hard to get through. A lot of it is minutiae of detail of particular congressional processes in the southern US and like between 1860 and 1880, and like lots of like a lot of the stuff, especially in the middle chapters of Black Reconstruction. In these later chapters, it's less like this, but in the middle chapters, a lot of the stuff is like 4 pages of descriptions of speeches and reporting of speeches and of the progress of particular bills. Stuff that makes me actually fall asleep. Followed by the most searingly insightful passage that you've ever come across in your life, and it's like, yeah, that's that's why we're reading it, but it is a challenge, and I'm looking forward to no longer reading it. But I do have to spend a lot of time with it after I've finished going through all my notes and sort of codifying them with some sticky notes, because it's a very useful referencing book, but it's difficult to find stuff in. Stuff I need to learn more about. My socialist histories aren't great, so I need to learn more about that. And I feel like documentaries might be a useful way to get into, particularly in like Latin America, and like Middle Eastern socialist histories as well, that I need to sort of find more knowledge about. So you know, they might be useful. I'm sure there's abridged versions of Black Reconstruction that are, or at least handbooks. There must be. There are abridged versions of fucking Capital, so there must be abridged versions of Black Reconstruction. It's gonna feel nice to get it finished. I'll say that. And it is wonderful and fascinating in so many ways. It's just a challenge. I feel like Westerners don't know much about Eastern Europe. I feel like there is a type of Westerner who knows a lot about Eastern Europe. And often they're often fascists, which is strange. You get this particular, I remember them from my politics undergrads, these particular people who had very specific knowledge of the of the breakup of the Soviet Union and all of the right-wing groups involved, and they talked about them, particularly the fascists, with a kind of deference that I found uncomfortable. The type of Westerner who knows an awful lot about the Latvian annual commemoration of their SS Legion. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about the Avatar: The Last Airbender show. I'm sure you're all surprised to learn that it's not very good. They've made. So I can't believe that a group of people have done this, but they've taken a beloved animated show, turned it into live action, and sucked all of the sort of joy from it. I don't know how they've managed that. It's such a strange thing to happen. Yeah, Sinan, it's not great. It's not good. There's some like weird decisions like that so far. I mean, I can only speak for the first episode, but there's some weird decisions like making Aang, the way that they treat Aang leaving the air temple it doesn't feel like it's him running from his responsibilities to go and, well, it's not him running from his responsibilities to go play in the snow of the the Southern Water Tribe. It's him getting some air while the Fire Nation destroys the air nomads, and for some reason that they've decided that he already needed to know that the Fire Nation was doing stuff. It's strange decisions. That you're just like, why would you do this? What is the justification for this decision? It just doesn't make sense. And yeah, the Sokka's character's a bit strange as well. Him being sort of aged up makes his immaturity seem worse. Yeah, and they seem to be like blasting like really quickly through things. So it's like, so you don't have any time, at least in that first episode, to like connect with the characters or to understand why the characters have connections. It's just it's just not great. The worst moment was there's a moment in the first episode where they say where Aang just tells basically looks directly at the camera and says and spells out what his motivation would be, which is great. I love it when TV shows do that. It feels very awkward. It's just strange. It's not great, unfortunately. No, he was frozen. He was frozen in the ice for 100 years, but the Fire Nation had already attacked by the time he was frozen. So he knew about the Fire Nation doing their attacks, and then later on tries to fit in like, oh, it's so strange that the Fire Nation are doing this. I have friends in the Fire Nation, and you're a bit like, why did you do these things at the same time if you want to also make him not understand the Fire Nation has attacked? It's just kind of strange decisions that I'm not sure why they've done them. Maybe it'll make sense later on, but from what I've seen of the discussions of it online, my hopes aren't high. After the Avatar film, I figured any live action spin-off would suck. See, I kind of thought that after the film, they would be more careful with making it, with making it good. And you can see that they're trying in some ways to sort of fit into the. I mean, the stuff about Sokka does not want to be Sokka to be a misogynist. He still does some misogynistic things in that episode, and it's more like Sokka is a stressed out leader who's trying to protect people more than he's just a bit of a misogynist. Weird. But I kind of, yeah, I figured that they would be better with it. But seeing clips and you're like, I'm just not sure this actually translates into a show, like into a live action show. I just don't. I feel like the medium, if anything, it's highlighting how like animation is a better medium for some things, because it's just not as fun or as vibrant to watch it, just fundamentally. Animation longs like 23 episodes seasons worked for that show, and I don't think, when you say sexist, do you mean Andrew Tate sexist? It's more like teenage boy, like girls can't do things kind of sexist. When in the show, in the TV show, the animated show with Sokka, and then he gets repeatedly humbled over and over again, as a sort of very clear message to boys of that age, basic stuff. Whereas in this sort of live action show, it's like a 17-year-old guy, or 17-year-old guy looking, who sort of very seriously goes like, "Look, it's my job to protect this town, so you need to stay and keep yourself safe, please." And you're like, yeah, it's still misogynistic. So, and he's not really pulled up on it being misogynistic in that episode, but it's like, yeah, it's just not great, unfortunately. I figured the show was going to have issues with pacing when I heard about it, because it's Netflix and they wouldn't give it room to breathe. Like, especially with the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, where a lot of the side quests that weren't necessarily main story were valuable to understand the character. Compressing that down to 8 episodes would be a difficult task. It's funny because like a lot of previous Netflix shows used to have I recently rewatched Daredevil, the 3 series of Daredevil, and the 1 series of Defenders, which is just not good. And that almost, I thought, like, that got the criticism for the opposite, for being too long-winded and the pacing being too slow. But watching it again, I don't think so. I think the pacing of those shows is just fine. And I was reminded, it was strange rewatching the Daredevil show, because you're like, oh wow, there was a time when Marvel TV shows were, a very, very brief time when Marvel TV shows were good. And I'd forgotten that the whole villain plot of the first series of Daredevil is just gentrification. Which is a great plot for a major Netflix superhero show. The major scheme is just the bad guy wants to gentrify the city and we have to and the violence of gentrification made explicit. And that's fucking good. The second series, bits of it are good, and then the third series is just great. Less about gentrification, but more like corruption and the just some really great like filmmaking within the show. Just a good show. More like looking at individual characters than something like gentrification. The fight choreography is great. Like, they don't shy away with the main character, Matt Murdock, being an absolute asshole, which is fun. Maybe goes on a bit, that sort of side of it, and you're like, if you're watching the whole 3 series in a row and you're just like, what's going on here? Oh, hello the Surf Times and their viewers. Welcome to the stream. We were just talking about Daredevil. We've been talking about how terrible the musical Wicked is. We've been talking about how bad how bad that first episode of the Netflix Avatar show was. We're gonna have to move on to talk about some real things at some point, but we will get there in a bit. Yeah, I mean, like, the Daredevil show was really good. I did not know that they did either, but apparently they do, and that's fun. For anyone who's new to the channel, what we do on the streams is we do. I usually have wine, but this time I've got gin and tonic, and basically over the course of 2 or 3 hours, you watch me get sort of progressively more belligerent about various things and play some music. And if that sounds like your thing, then enjoy. We could talk about how good it is that your computer's alive again, and we can do D&D. Yep, next Thursday. We do these every second Thursday because on the other Thursdays of the month we play D&D at SK the Crusader on Twitch. It's been ages. I think it's been since before Christmas because of various fuck ups and mistakes and computers breaking down. So be looking forward to get back into it. You like Gotham a lot, at least the first few seasons. I watched Gotham and I enjoyed Gotham as a fun sort of pulpy bit of nonsense. What did I enjoy about? It was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that show. Barb screwed up. Uh-oh. We'll figure that out. My character in D&D is a fighter rogue who just wants to open his own junk shop and is the horrible, greasiest, dirtiest guy ever, just constantly stealing shit, which is fun to do, and for some reason really winds up the scary character in the party. I fell off when Penguin was all, "I'm king of the world," and penguined all over Gotham, and he actually said that. Well, I don't remember that. What's our current adventure like? Our current D&D adventure. Well, I wasn't in the last session because I was on a train that I'd forgot that I was going to be on. But the adventure is quite fun. It's just basically the 4 of us not trusting each other as we try to make money and get through the world without killing each other. And that's fun. There's a nice tension between the players in the game. Well, between most of the players in the game, not between me and
another character, Barb. We get on. But everyone else hates each other, and that's fun. It gives it a different vibe to the old everyone just gets on and will always have each other's back scenario of D&D, the game for friendship. I have been enjoying the new series of Dimension 20 as well. For anyone who's watching, I'm going to see Dimension 20 live in April with my friend Luke, which is going to be good. Yeah, I've been enjoying the new series of that. All right. Is there anything else apart from the various medias that I've been enjoying or not enjoying that anyone's interested to talk about? Obviously, there's the absolute clusterfuck in the British Parliament just going on. Just to update for me, John, you're in the big city and you'll be starting by walking into a fancy jewellery shop. I will be trying to steal everything that's in that fancy jewellery shop, yes. The trouble is making sure we don't split the party, yeah. I remember playing a game. I've talked about this before on stream. One game I was playing, I had a guy who there was sort of tension in the party, not intentionally, but because one of the guys was playing a bard who it was one of those things where there's you know when someone really tries to be funny and they're just unfortunately not. It was one of those things where someone just kept trying very hard to be funny, and it was like made every sort of interaction quite awkward, and you're just like Anyone interested to speak about the BAFTAs? I have no idea what happened with the BAFTAs. The only thing I've seen in the BAFTAs is that fun David Tennant sketch when he was introducing it, because David Tennant and his husband Michael Sheen are always doing that shit together. What's happening on Normal Island? So, last night there was a vote on whether or not to, basically the vote and the amendment to a vote about calling for a ceasefire, supporting a ceasefire in Palestine. And there was a SNP amendment to that vote, which basically just called for a ceasefire. And that amendment was going to be voted against by the Labour Party, because the Labour Party are ghouls. They are evil, pathetic little people. And Labour had its own amendment, which was it was a Conservative Party, and there's Conservative Party support for different things, and basically a bunch of minutiae of parliamentary procedures were broken, because the Speaker, who himself was a Labour MP, but is supposedly neutral now, broke with parliamentary procedure to allow Labour to avoid the embarrassment of not voting for an SNP motion, and instead allowing to vote on their own motion, which is bullshit. It's a bullshit motion, and it was just like a fucking clusterfuck of broken procedures of MPs. Apparently, the Speaker was threatened by Keir Starmer, because the assumption is that Keir Starmer is going to win the next election through no fucking skill of his own, because the Tories are just so desperately unpopular, and he is there. And so it was basically, it's sort of been reported that he implied that Starmer implied that, bad things might happen to this person's position as speaker, or this person's career. Life might be made hard for him if he didn't allow changes to this bill, the amendments, for Labour's amendments, to be voted on and break with parliamentary procedure. And like, there's been people who've been contesting this, people who've been confirming it. There's a whole bunch of shit. The important thing about it all, though, is that it's just a reminder that Keir Starmer, once he does become Prime Minister, will essentially be carrying on the same bullshit as every other British Prime Minister. Shock, horror. Imagine such a thing. A British Prime Minister being an imperialist. Who could imagine such a thing? But also just, you know, if it makes you happy Trump got fined in New York City, that's funny. I think it's funny anytime bad things happen to Trump. I came back to your Keir Starmer. Yeah, we were talking about the clusterfuck in Parliament yesterday. You'd think Labour would not be pro-genocide, but that's par for the course. I wouldn't think. Yeah, I mean, I would think Labour would be pro-genocide. I would say that's pretty consistent with Labour policy. I think there's only a very few random times when Labour haven't been overtly pro-genocide. Yeah. So that was that. Nothing much to say about it. Like, the things that are, I think, the most important thing to come out of it, I think, is not the stuff about procedure being broken and bullying in the Parliament. You know, these people are fucking crooks, and they've always been fucking crooks. I think the most sort of insidious part of it is that all through the day there was huge amount of activism as people queued up, protested and queued up to lobby their MPs to vote on the SNP amendment to the bill, which called for basically an unconditional ceasefire. And this has been framed in the media quite broadly as being similar to the attempted January 7th or something, the attempted coup in the US. They are lots of the media is basically trying to frame this basic process of lobbying your MP, queuing up to lobby your MP, which is January 6th, yeah, which is a basic, like, you know, it's not a controversial part of your fucking representative democracy process. Try to frame that as a coup attempt by the vicious and evil supporters of Palestine. And they're invoking things like the memory of Joe Cox, the Labour MP who was murdered by someone from the far right, who hated migrants and hated brown people. They're invoking her memory to justify the demonization of these people, calling their MPs basically massive fucking cowards, because their MPs are massive fucking cowards. And all these MPs get very teary, get very upset about abuse being hurled their way just because they'll support a genocide. And it's, you know, it's actually really rude to throw abuse at someone just for the reason of them supporting mass slaughter. Like, that, I just think that's just very rude. And the newspapers are all just like, not only is it rude, it's also probably a coup by the vicious far left. And that kind of language in the press is fucking dangerous. We already have unworkable, according to a court, broad protest laws, which essentially demonise left-wing protests and anyone who's not white at a protest. And this sort of language in the press basically allows the police and allows groups to further demonise that shit. And it's not good. Here's something that I've not spoken about on stream yet, though. Talking about protest and policing. So, a few weeks ago, I was at there was a arms dealers dinner in West London. It was like £500 a ticket. And these arms dealers who some of whom we know were actively selling arms to Israel, were meeting in a very fancy hotel for £500 a ticket to talk and to network and to have a good time. So we went to picket that, and the whole way through there was it was quite funny. There was two entrances to this arms dinner. One which was the wrong entrance, and then one which was the right entrance. But the wrong entrance was like the main entrance to the hotel. So all these fancy, elderly arms dealers, because they're all quite old, would try to walk in and would see who they were, and then they get directed round, and they try to some of them tried to squeeze round the back, and some of them tried to get round the front, and we're just getting shouted down. And it was, it was a night which lacked satisfaction, because obviously these are a bunch of people who we couldn't stop the event, and these are a bunch of people who are about to make a bunch of connections to make a bunch of money off of killing lots of people, which is not a nice place to be. But near the end, actually at the end, after the protest called, after the sort of leader of the protest had said, time to leave, make sure you're leaving in groups with people, that's when the police struck. They arrested 2 people for reasons that are unclear, and we attempted de-arrests, but because some people had already left, because we'd called the end of the protest, there just weren't enough people to properly block the vans and to properly do a de-arrest. So unfortunately, those people were arrested. The one thing, this might get me banned, but I don't think so. But if anyone listened to this and then reported it, so the one good thing about this was that after I got back that evening, I started developing symptoms of what I now know was the flu, and it was really bad. It was a really bad flu. It's basically textbook flu. Every symptom that you could get. I was in bed for 3 days. I was coughing. My asthma got really bad. It's still not back to 100%. One night I woke up just throughout the night just dripping in sweat, in a way I haven't before. It was like I'd just gotten out of the shower, just absolutely pouring with sweat, and I had to change my bed clothes the next day, struggle through that. It was the sort of flu that made you realise what flu it actually is, and how it's not just a bad cold, but it's a really what it is. And you made you realise that you understand how people could die from this. Now, I developed symptoms the night of this protest. I was very close, shouting down quite a lot of sort of elderly people who were about to go and sell arms to make a lot of money. The chances are I could have spread that flu to some of those older arms dealers. And I'm not saying like I hope they're dead for reasons that, you know, mean that I don't want to get banned from YouTube. I'm just saying I was very close to them, and if I was a biological weapon, I can understand how the impact of the flu, which affected me, a relatively healthy and fit 29-year-old, might have hurt a 70-year-old, 75-year-old arms dealer slightly worse. And that gives me some solace. If you read in the newspaper of any high-profile arms dealers in the London area maybe dying of some sort of flu, not saying it was me, but we all contribute to society in our own ways. It was one of those things where I left that protest just thinking, I don't understand these people, and I don't think I ever can understand them, and like maybe that's a particular flaw in my ability to understand the world. But they were just like smirking and laughing the whole time. Some of them stopped to confront people and then just wandered away laughing. And it just got me thinking. I was just like looking at them, just thinking, how do you like I understand bankers, right? There's a certain distance to being a banker that means that you can avoid confronting the destruction that your life causes. But when you're an arms dealer, you're an arms dealer, and you can't avoid knowing that your arms are going to be used in something which at that point had already been declared by an international court plausibly genocide. I just couldn't I couldn't get into the headset of someone who was able to go through life and avoid and understand that and live with themselves. I just couldn't get, like, how do you go to work every day? Like, who oh yeah, I'm gonna sell these arms, these guns, these mines, these bombs to this genocidal regime. I'm gonna make a lot of money out of this, and that's okay. And I just can't understand it. So maybe it'd be good if some of them got the flu and were hit very hard with it. It's hard to be around that such a concentrated group of evil, like just such a concentrated group of the most evil people dressed in the most expensive clothes. And what really got a lot of people at the protest was that it wasn't just the police who were harassing people, but and were working to arrest, but the security guards at the hotel were instrumental in getting the arrests made, and there were quite a few like black comrades at the protest, and the security guards were almost uniformly black, and they were just the black comrades at the protest were just fucking raging. They were just like, how the fuck can you look yourself in the mirror? Like, how are you pleased with what you do as your life? And it's like, and you're like, yeah, how do you look yourself in the mirror? Helping the police. Like, how do you do that? You go home once you, like, not even the fucking arms dealer who sleeps on a bed of money, but a low paid security guard goes home that night and is like, I really went above and beyond today to actively work with the police to arrest someone and protect arms traders. I really did a good job with my low paid job there. Like, at least the arms dealers are rich. Like, what are you getting out of it? It's a bunch of people I just fundamentally don't understand. Just fundamentally don't understand. Weird event. Imagine they consider it might as well be them to make the money, because otherwise it'd be someone else. I guess maybe, but like, I don't, like, I could do that as well with, like, I could take a job. I could get a think tank job for some right-wing think tank churning out shite, and if I didn't do it, someone else would do it. I just don't understand, like, how you live with yourself doing that shit. It's alien to me. It might as well be. It's alien. To wear clothing that costs a whole rent check is a red flag to me, at minimum an orange one. I mean, yeah. Some bits of clothing are naturally more expensive. I think the most expensive bit of clothing I have is a coat, which cost, like a big winter coat, which cost £120. But I've had that for 6 years now. But yeah, like, people, yeah, the clothes that those people were wearing, you could just smell the money coming off of them. Alright, we're gonna do, what's the time? 10 o'clock. Okay, let's get another, we're gonna make another track, then I'm gonna top up my gin and tonic, and we are gonna figure out what to talk about once I come back. Think of questions, think of any topics, and, you know, we'll figure it out. But, you know, first things first, let's get a new tune on the go. Sorry, I wasn't feeling that one. Gonna try something else. right. Thanks for joining us, Liz. I will be back in 1 minute. I am just heading out to get another gin and tonic. Enjoy the music while I'm gone, and then again, like, think of any topics or anything that you want to talk about, any questions about the channel or anything, or plans going forward. Could talk a bit about future plans for videos that I want to talk about. I want to do later on, some of which is hinted at the next chicken run video, or whatever anyone wants to talk about for the next. We usually go to about 11, which is 40 minutes from now, if you're not in the UK. But yeah, I'll be back in 2 minutes while I get after I get a wee gin and tonic. All right, let's take a look at what I've missed. New gin and tonic back again. Nice and cold. I was offered a cat again as I was coming in here, but he's already been on screen and we can't have him getting too much attention, or else he'll get really arrogant. We don't want him to think that, you know, we don't want him to get really arrogant, do we? Well, welcome to welcome to the stream, anyone who's new, and welcome back to anyone who's not new. Concierto de Aranjuez. I'm so bad with knowing names of shit, whether that is people or movies or like songs or anything. So the chances are I know what that sounds like, and if I googled it right now I'd find out. But I don't know. I can't. I'm so bad with names of stuff, so I don't know. Have I had success in organising activism across different groups? There was a time, I've not done it in a while, but there was a time when I tried to get two London groups to talk to each other because they operated in the same sort of area and under the same rubric, and it was so difficult, so difficult to do that, just because, like, you know, people are busy, and people know their organisations, and it's, even if groups have respect for each other, getting them to interact with each other and to talk to each other is difficult. But since I have been less able to be active within those two groups, they have become better without me at interacting with each other, which is good to see. So I can only conclude that my attempts to do this were holding them back, and I am maybe a de-organiser in my ability to get people to talk to each other. So to answer the question, there has been limited success with two groups that I was trying to get to talk to each other, but I don't think it was to do with me. So I guess maybe. But getting different groups to act in a coordinated fashion is really difficult. It's just a hard thing to do, and it's beyond. It requires deep, like, relationships between both groups and ability to sort of do that. In other examples, I can't think of any other examples I've had to like that. The thing that I want to get into once I find an academic job is try and do something with the whichever UCU branch, like University College Unions branch, I end up in, to try and make it not terrible. That again might be far too ambitious because it's the UCU and it's fucking terrible. Oh, that was something interesting I did actually. We can talk about. We can talk. This is relevant. This is some actual left-wing politics stuff. This is where we can actually talk about some left-wing politics stuff on this stream. Imagine that. You had a question if you scroll up. Okay. One sec. How far should I scroll up? Aviva, would you mind just retyping the question, because I can't find it when I scroll up, and I'll get to it. Labour, yeah. Oh God, yeah. We'll get to this in a second. And not the first time I've gone off on UCU on stream. So I was at last Friday. Me and a friend of mine went to the relaunch of this pamphlet. There we go. Are there any laws in the UK or Scotland about working for government and not being allowed to have anti-government sentiment? There are. I think there are. I don't know about the government working for the state. There are certain roles, like civil servants are supposed to be neutral. So expressing political opinions in public as a civil servant is a tricky thing to do. I know some civil servants. I mean, obviously within your personal life you're allowed to, but like if you're posting online shit, and I know some civil servants who talk about left-wing politics in their quite actively in their personal lives, but if you were posting a bunch of shit online, then you might get in trouble. There was recently a judge who is under fire because, oh Christ, we're gonna get into some shit. So few months ago, there was a couple of individuals who, at one of the Palestine demos, had a placard which had photos of people paragliding and like over the walls of Gaza, and they were arrested on terrorism charges. And fucking Aaron Bastani of Novara Media, our left-wing media, shared those images and spoke about how shit those people were, and they got charged on terrorism charges. Now the judge, this is relevant to what we're talking about, because the judge who ruled on that case basically said that he didn't want to charge them, he didn't want to convict them, because and he gave them what the lightest possible sentence he could give in this instance, because in his mind it wasn't terrorism, but the terrorism laws in this country are really bad because it's the UK, and because he gave them a relatively light sentence, because he said things like that, people started trolling through his social media, including his LinkedIn, and they found that he had liked posts that were supportive of Palestine, and he is now under review, being pestered by the right-wing press and having his job threatened because there are statutes in there's part of the judicial sort of handbook allows for it basically says that social media posts which have an impact on a case that you might be ruling on, you should consider recusing yourself from that role, from that case. Now if this was someone who'd ruled in a transphobic way in a transphobic case, none of the press would give a shit, but this was someone this was a judge who ruled, basically still convicted the people, but in a lighter way than the establishment press would have liked, and so they are trying to bring him up in front of they're trying to challenge his job. Now it's a slightly different sort of case than what you're talking about, but there are basically a whole host of different laws, norms and regulations which, if you work for the civil service or the judiciary or any sort of arm of the state, inhibit your ability to talk freely about the government and about the state and about things that are relevant to politics. There isn't one law, but there are a bunch of different regulations and rules that speak to that sort of shit, and it's really corrosive. Teachers get shit all the time. If you've got a particularly left wing, if you've got a teacher who's like in the education union and posts about their left wing politics, they'll get hounded by the press, and they might have their job up for question because their professionalism is questioned for holding vaguely left wing views. It's happened with doctors as well. It's not like a solid you can't talk shit about the government, but it's a whole bunch of shit which ends up being quite corrosive. So I hope that answers your question. I mean, if you worked directly for the government, rather than like for the state, or however different those things. If you want, like within political parties, if you work for the government, you can't criticise the government really. It's fucked. I mean, so I had a friend who worked for the civil service in Scotland, who no longer works for the civil service in Scotland, so I'm not too bad about answering this question, telling this story, who told me she worked in dealt with freedom of information requests, and basically told me that anytime a freedom of information request comes in for a project that the Scottish Government is involved in, the SNP, the Scottish Government, you had to act on that with a flash, or else people in the civil service, because the SNP is so entrenched, people within the civil service would start shredding documents on behalf of the government, to hide basically fuck-ups and problems. I don't think that's confined only to the SNP. That probably happens with most governments, but it did happen with the SNP in this case. But I can, she couldn't talk about that publicly, or else she would lose her job, because it would be a breach of basically civil service neutrality and security. She would get fired, and she would never work in government anywhere ever again. I actually don't know if she works in government right now, but at the time she was like, yeah, you can't talk about this publicly, John, because it would put my job at risk. But that happened, and it was fucked. So on the UCU stuff, so last week I was at a book launch event. It was more of a sort of pamphlet launch event, put on in the Marx Memorial Library in London. It was republishing a work by an old socialist called. One second. I'll find the name of it first. In 1 second. It was called The Workers' Committee. There was a pamphlet launched by Strike Map. Let me just see what the name of the author was before I forget. 1 second. I know this is thrilling stuff to watch. Really annoyingly, Strike Map are not putting on. Oh, she's fine now. Don't worry. She's very happy. They're not putting it. They haven't put it on the cover. Who actually wrote this? Wrote the Strike Map. Wrote this thing.
Um, J.T. Murphy, that was it. J.T. Murphy, English organizer in 1917. That would annoy me if I hadn't found that. So it was a republishing of that, and it was an interesting sort of launch event because they brought in lots of J.T. Murphy, lots of union organisers who were doing it not through the union bureaucracy but through basically rank and file organising. Some of them who were who weren't necessarily like part of the union at all, but were sort of rank and file workers organisers who ran, important, who ran strikes themselves. And there was some really interesting stuff spoken about that was really relevant. So one of the things that was spoken about was the way that, in a lot of cases, criticism of union action is muted, because especially during strike times, because it's sort of viewed of as attacking the movement, as rocking the boat, and not making yourself not helping the movement, and instead we should put up a united front. And that's had a really sort of ossifying effect on a lot of unions. And in the case of UCU, that's what I was thinking about throughout all of this, because UCU strikes were criticised so heavily. The strike tactics, and there were similar sort of tactics used by National Education, which teachers and teaching assistants union in schools, of this sort of tactic where instead of doing like several days worth of strikes at once, instead of just leaving work and going out on strike, you would do, say, 2 days of striking one week, then the next week you'd do 1 day of strike, then you'd maybe have a break for a week, and then you'd do another day of strike, and you'd run these, UCU ran them every year, and they didn't really do much. What they did was disrupt students. Students are always supportive, but like that runs its course when you see you're not winning things, and you're just doing the same thing over and over again. We won mild concessions, but the leadership was always very quick to sort of highlight these mild victories as something that's really important, as like the big victory of the union, without actually engaging with any of the rank and file who are like, this stuff is not what we like want. This is not enough for us. We need to do more. And that was like one of the dimensions that's really fucked with UCU as a union, is its inability to actually confront and challenge strategy as a like industrial strategy, and the inability to criticize it without, one of the major problems with it is that the General Secretary, who's up for election right now, used union channels to basically promote, herself, her own faction within the union, and to squash any dissent. People would criticize it, and you'd get like the full force of UCU comms shitting on you, which is obviously horrendous and ossifying and the death of a union if you can't challenge your representatives, because that's what they are. They're supposed to be the representatives of the workers through the union. If you can't challenge your representatives through the union, then what the fuck is it for? So I was thinking about that a lot. Another major thing which came up a lot during this book launch was, so past few before I move on from UCU, this same book launch, someone stood up from SOAS, which is one of the big universities in London. It's one that's been at risk for a while, but it's a very well established, very well regarded university. Stood up and just said, my whole department was told today that
we are all going to be fired, and that we would have to reapply for our jobs again. And he was like, I said no to that. If you want to fire me, you've got to give me redundancy, and we've got to do this as a way. I'm not reapplying for my job again. I'm not going through that indignity. But that situation, and the reason that can keep happening, is because of these failures of the UCU to act in the interests of workers. And because of this very limited don't shake the boat strategy of don't criticise us, especially during a strike. We're trying our best. We can't show any weakness to the employers. It's like, we are so weak. If a whole department could get fired without a peep, then we are so fucking weak. It's a fucking mess. And it's a fucking disgrace. And it's not just that. There's things like, students are being challenged with their visas, which things that the UCU should be talking about but hasn't spoken about at all, with the justification that they're like, it's illegal for the union to act in anything that's not directly related to employment law. Which is technically true, but there are a number of ways to get around employment law and a number of ways to get around union-busting employment law. You can strike on a particular issue, and then you can make clear that the wider issues of marketisation, of racist policies towards foreign students, all that shit. It's a fucking exhausting organisation, the UCU. Everything about it is exhausting. Engels thought that UK unions had become organisations of privileged groups and highly skilled workers which spent as much time barring the unskilled from union membership as fighting the employers. I mean, there's an extent to which that's still true, and there are unskilled unions, but lots of, particularly the bigger unions, things like GMB. The GMB are famously shitheads who do shit like that, who let smaller unions like IWGB organise, say, Deliveroo drivers, Uber drivers, and then at the last minute sweep in and have a recognition deal. Create a recognition deal, claim that they are the ones who've organised these drivers, and get a really shit recognition deal with the employers, undercutting and undermining all the work of the organisers who have done all the strikes and done all that shit. It happens all the time. They're the fucking worst. We're even worse than UCU. But one of the other things that was brought up during this launch was that the past couple of weeks, there have been a number of reports released by unions, internal reports, about the scale of misogyny, trans misogyny, that is rife within the union movement, within various different movements. And a bunch of that, stuff that's not just talking over, not like the smaller microaggression stuff, but like full on horrendous misogyny that that is swept under the rug by these unions. And relating to the UCU, just last week the UCU Black Group, Black Caucus, announced that they would no longer be organising with the main union because of the amount of racism that they faced and the inability and the unwillingness of the union bureaucracy to actually deal with it. And that stuff reminded me of was that during RMT strikes, the first RMT strikes, rail worker strikes, in 2022, there was an ongoing dispute between the Black Caucus of the RMT and their deputy, I can't remember what it's called, deputy president, deputy head, deputy chief executive or something, a guy called Eddie Dempsey. And that was just swept under the rug. And anytime you brought that up, this active dispute where black workers, black union members who wanted to confront Dempsey or just wanted an apology, just wanted an explanation, were ignored completely. And if you brought any of that up as a criticism, then you were told you were rocking the boat, you were anti-union, you were anti-worker. And that stuff's just pervasive amongst the movement. Which of course it is, because, you know, it's fucking... we live in fucking white supremacy, but the union, the purpose of the union should be to voice, like make the workers have a voice. And if the union is the one suppressing the voice of the workers, then what's the fucking point of the union? And it makes me so mad. And it's it's fucked. You know, you can never succeed as a workers' movement if you ignore the voices of workers. If you institutionally suppress the voices of certain groups, women and people of colour, it's a fucking impossible venture. You can't just create a fiction that you are a united working class. You can't just create an image of this, of unity. That doesn't work. You can't trick the bosses into thinking that you're a unified working class. You actually have to be one, and to do that you've got to actually represent or be a voice for all the workers. You can't shove some of them in the corner. It's just so basic. Like, it fucking blows my mind. This basic shit is just ignored by these fucking union bureaucrats that are clinging on to their fucking paychecks. You know who the highest paid, I think maybe the highest or second highest paid union official in the UK is the head of the RNC, the Royal College of Nursing. Absurd amount of money, hundreds of thousands of pounds. You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? How do you represent workers when you make that much money? Like, what? And within the working organization, how do you justify that? Well, some of the union's workers are paid next to nothing. It just doesn't make any sense. What had Dempsey done to piss them off? He'd made repeatedly, essentially racist comments, and refused to talk to them about those comments, and that had, to them, read as ignoring their concerns about racism within the union. These are also workers who likely have experienced racism from within their workplaces, and likely within the union as well. And that act of refusal to speak to them, to offer any explanation or any apology, had obviously been read justifiably as just endorsing the views and not respecting them as people or as a group within the union. To this day, I have not heard that the dispute has been settled. That's what happened. I mean, Dempsey's a fucking shithead himself. Like, he's the reason he went off Twitter because he kept getting into shit for posting a bunch of reactionary fucking bullshit. I think union betrayal is sort of the worst workers' betrayal. Feels worse than party betrayal because a party is already made up of a political class, so people kind of expect them to be assholes. Yeah, I mean, your union betraying you is fucked. And like, there's some unions where you kind of expect it from, because GMB is called the Lords Union because back in the 80s or so it was their chief executive was literally a lord. And they've been known for years for being fuckers. I know a story about this actually. GMB. So at a workplace I know, and I'm being vague intentionally there because it could be bad if it got back to the person who told me this. GMB is their union, and the person I know went to a union meeting, and their union rep walked in, and their union rep was their manager, and their pitch to join the union, this manager's pitch to join the union was, what's great about GMB is that we don't exclude anyone. We have everyone from the chief executive down to the lowest paid worker in the union. And they said this as if it was a good thing. Like they said this as if, that's good. The whole workplace, all the managers are in my union. Isn't that great? And it's like, and it's especially bad because this is the union, the union that represents the workers of another union. So these are the workers of another union who are represented. Obviously, they can't be represented as workers by the union they work for. That doesn't make any sense. So they're being represented by this other union. But the representative was just talking about how all the managers were in it and how everyone was in it, and it was great. And you're just like, how are you as a union worker who is now a union representative so devoid of understanding of what a union is and what it's for that you can say that? You're madness. There's a reason why the nickname AFL-CIA is a thing. I know a good book on that. One sec. Can you see that? Oh, God, no. There we go. El Golpe, US Labor and the CIA, and the coup at Ford in Mexico. It's a very good book about the CIA links between AFL, CIA, and the CIA, and like some very good wildcat union organising in that, and examples of how labour aristocracy works within the imperial core. Yeah, it is a conflict of interest. It is astounding how bad some of the union organising is in this country. It's astoundingly bad. Should we do another song? One more tune? Oh God, it's almost 11. Since it's almost 11, I want to get like a fairly okay night. So we are gonna do one last song, and then if there's any more questions or anything, we've ranted for 40 minutes about unions there. It's not wine today. I didn't have wine today because I forgot when I went to the shop earlier to buy wine, and then it was horrible. It's been a horrible day today, pouring rain. And I didn't want to leave the house again, so we're on the gin and tonic and beers today, so which is much more pleasant than the wine, and I would do it more if it didn't lead to much more quickly losing my train of thought than with glasses of wine. Can you tell us of union? Yeah, let's share a story. Before let me share two stories about good union action. In light of that, I can share a few. There's some that were shared in that very talk, because it wasn't just all horror. It was examples of how rank and file workers managed to managed to do some really good work. So one example was a group of Amazon warehouse workers in. I was talking to Sam about this the other day. Do I re-upload the streams? The streams are available on all the past streams are available on the channel. They're, you know, you can scroll back anytime. They're all there. I don't cut them up because I tried to do that a bit, but they were it was too much work. I'm too busy to cut up stream highlights. But yeah, they're all available on the channel if you ever want to scroll through. It's a challenge because they're long, but you're welcome to try. Yes, so I was telling Sam about this the other day. Group of workers in Amazon in England. They worked in an Amazon warehouse, which was one of the warehouses where they take packages coming from outside the UK, process them and put them on. And it's like the only one in the UK. So it's like a choke point of Amazon. If they strike, they figured they could cripple Amazon delivery in the UK. But they figured out, and they were striking, and they won the concessions of their workplace. And this is a strategy for future that they've been working on, because they figured out that the only other warehouse like this in Europe is in Germany. So they've been in contact with the workers in Germany in this warehouse, trying to set up, working together to organise a strike between these two warehouses. Because if these two warehouses strike at the same time, they can bring to a halt the entirety of Amazon's delivery service across the whole of Europe. And they've figured that out. So, if we see at some point in the future, Europe's Amazon delivery service has collapsed, has been brought to a halt because of two strikes, you will know that it's because these two sets of workers figured out exactly how to cripple an entire international system of delivery. And that's a beautiful piece of organising. That's a beautiful piece of workers across borders, internationalist cooperation, and figuring out how to bring an essential service to a complete halt to win concessions. I think that's beautiful. Another example, construction in the UK. So this was told by a guy who worked union organiser in construction for decades. Construction in the UK, union density is around, it's very, very low. It's like 3%, maybe that. It's like, it's very, very low. But he's a rank and file organiser. And many, many times he has brought, and workers in construction have brought construction to a halt in their workplace, not because of union density, but because they have managed to convince the workers in that place to go on strike, to go on protest, to protest conditions, to skirt round the labour laws, the oppressive labour laws that exist across the UK. They've never been fined, because who are you going to fine? Because they don't have a union. It's not a union. You need a union to be fined. So who are you going to fine for that? And they've managed to bring various building sites to a halt despite very low union density, because of the power of rank and file worker organising. And another example, someone stood up and spoke about how at one of the really oppressive pieces of union legislation that's come in recently has been the notion of minimum service requirements for particular services. So, like, workplaces, government can figure out what you can't go on strike below a certain thing that needs, say, a hospital to actually function. You can't have 100% going on strike because the hospital would cease to function. It would lead to people being hurt. and dying. And bosses have taken this piece of legislation and spread it beyond to an absurd degree. So a firemen's union was recently told that their minimum service requirement was 100%, so they couldn't go on strike at all. But what this person had brought up was that a way to skirt round minimum servicing and a way to get round union laws is that part of sick law in the UK, sickness law, is that if something is causing you sufficient stress, then you have an ability to take a sick day. And if you receive a notification and while you're planning to be on strike that says you have a minimum service requirement, you must come in, otherwise your job is at risk, is that might cause you significant stress, thinking about losing your job. And that might cause you to have an inability to come into work that day because you've just been caused so much stress and so much, and what is a sickness, essentially sickness, by this letter. And so these are rank and file strategies for trying to avoid and trying to get round in semi-legal ways the oppressive union laws that are being brought in. So while there's ossification and like a consolidation of union bureaucracy and a funneling of power upwards, the creativity of the workers to find ways around that, and the power of them to bring down and bring to a halt workplaces is still there, and it's still powerful. And that's if you want something to be happy, a way to be happy. There's always that. There's always the power. Despite the fucking bureaucrats, the rank and file still hold power, an immense amount of power, and an immense amount of creativity to do things and to bring about the ends of exploitation. And part of worker organisation is just organising, which can happen beyond the workplace as well. So yeah, I hope that gives you some lightness before we end. Right. Last song. We're gonna make a nice jumpy song. We're gonna do another disco song. That's what I mean.
I think I fucked this one up. I think I'm going to have to start again.
All right. Unless anyone's got any burning questions or anything else that they'd like to talk about, we will draw that to a close there. We've gone a little bit over, but that's always fine. And yeah, thanks for joining me on stream. Hopefully we'll be back on schedule now. Nothing will happen, and we should be back in 2 weeks. That'll be the plan. Hopefully you should have a video out in the next few days to talk about next time, see how well it does. Hope it does well. I put a lot of effort into doing a very, very silly introduction to that. More effort than it was worth. But you know, I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, thanks for coming along. I will, as always, leave the sort of stream running for about 5 minutes or so, and let the music play. And yeah, cheers. I'll see you all in a couple of weeks.